this moment. But first, the pressing news is that in Ontario, on June the 12th, Ontarians will go to the polls and they will choose what will decide the future of our children. Why do we talk about the future of our children? Because unfortunately, over the last decade or so, the Ontario government has been very hostile to children from the perspective of protecting them against explicit sex. Ontario has 2 million children in the school system, and they've been subjected to radical sex education in schools where they have not been protected, where they learn terrible things that would make you and me blush. But now in Ontario, it's common for 8-year-olds, grade 3s, grade 4s and 5s to discuss and look at explicit sex material in the classroom. That's one of the burning questions. Of course, there are many other questions that will be decided on June the 12th. They'll look at the economy. I mean, our power, our electricity, our hydro rates have gone through the roof. Apparently, they've gone up 42%. Here at Canada Christian College, our electricity rates are so high. We've been paying $34,000 a month for electricity. It's just gone through the roof. But the burning question for me is the protection of our children, because what is more important than our children? They are our future. They are what we are to look after. And now our children, when they go to school, they're forced to question their gender, whether they're male or female or one of the other 6 genders. In fact, or the other 4 genders. Can you name the 6 genders? I mean, you can't name them. I can't. You know, I struggle with them because they're nonsensical. But now our classroom teaches little Johnny in grade 3 that he might be a girl, or he might be transgender, transsexual, two-spirited, or intersex. And then they sometimes throw in a few more genders. In fact, Facebook now, when you register a Facebook page, they give you a choice of 56 genders. Not just male or female, but another 54. Well, now our classroom is teaching this nonsense. They're forcing our children to cross-dress, to dress as the opposite sex. They're forcing our children to learn things that you and I don't even learn about. Why? Because these things are destructive. And yes, we have read about this in the newspapers over the last few years, and we see that it is becoming more explicit and more radical every year. Well, here's the good news. On June the 12th, you can make a difference. I say you, and I point at you with one finger and have 3 fingers pointing at me. Why? Because let me give you the secret of Canadian politics. Less than 1% of Canadians get directly involved in the political process, picking our leaders, making phone calls, volunteering, all of this. In fact, then what happens is that a selected 1% get involved. They then choose who our leaders are, who our candidates are. We go into the polls and we look at the ballot and we say, wow, we've got 3 choices: bad, tragic, or catastrophic. Which one should I choose? The reason is because the people of Canada have not chosen those people, those candidates. Just a handful of people, 100 or 200 or 300 people out of 100,000 in a riding have chosen who you can vote for. Well, now we are in an election. We have all the candidates. They're all set. We're going to go into the ballot box, but you can still make the difference. candidates because less than 1% of Canadians actually get involved in the process. When did you last volunteer for a candidate? Make phone calls, knock on doors, go and help. Well, I'm going to give you a few key secrets how you can make a difference. And you know what? These three parties are really, the three major parties are neck and neck. They're really virtually tied in the polls in a virtual statistical tie within the margin of error. So whoever works the hardest is going to decide the outcome, and whoever wins is going to decide whether or not our children are protected or whether our children will be subject to the terrible things that have been thrust upon them in the last few years. Yes. Let me give you the first key, and that is to go to the website, canadiantimes.ca, and sign the petition to protect children. In fact, we've put up a new website called voteforchildren.ca. Use that website, go there, and sign the petition. What do petitions mean? Well, in the political world, if one person writes a letter or makes a phone call or signs a petition, they believe that one represents many others, sometimes as much as 1,000. In fact, Deuteronomy 32:30 says that one can put 1,000 to flight. Two can put 10,000 to flight. So when you sign that petition, you gather your strength and all the strength of the others who sign it, and that speaks volumes to the candidates because they want to represent you. The second thing I want you to do is call the candidates in your riding. At this website, voteforchildren.ca, there'll be a link there where you can identify who your candidates are, and you can then get their phone numbers and call them. It doesn't take long. Call them and ask them to pledge to protect children from explicit sex in schools, and then advise them that if they will not pledge to do so, then they will not have your vote, they will not have your family's vote, they'll not have your relatives and friends vote. And you know what? They will stand up and listen. I also want you to call the three main leaders, Kathleen Wynne, Andrea Horvath, and Tim Hudak, because their office will tabulate those calls and they will give a report to the candidates, and they will see that this means a lot to you and me. In fact, if you don't do this, who's going to? I know the others who want the radical, they're going to do this. Let me give you the third step. Choose the best of the three candidates in your riding and go to their office and volunteer to at least put up a sign, and then maybe even help them on the phones. And then the fourth step is to donate. Go to voteforchildren.ca. Donate what you can so that children can be protected